All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Debbie Happy Cohen. I'm here with Heidi Boble and Michele Stone. We're here because Heidi Boble is starting the very first joy-based living friendship circle, and it's happening at Boble Sound Studio in Vienna, Austria. And I'm here with Michele Stone, and she is in Tampa, Florida, and she's a curator at the Carrollwood Cultural Center, an art curator. And the reason we're doing this video, it's called Tea Time and Spa, is because Heidi was asking some really good questions for the new members who would be coming in. We have had a group since 2020 called Wholehearted Networking. Prior to that, we started a conversation in 2016 called Joy-Based Living. So the Joy-Based Living conversation started in 2016. We started Wholehearted Networking in 2020. And now we're starting the friendship circle, the very first friendship circle in 2023. Okay, so Heidi was saying when we were looking through some of the notes from Wholehearted Networking, which we're using as the basis for the notes and meeting outline for the friendship circle, she said, wait a minute, there's some things here that I think my people will ask me about and I won't know how to answer them. And so Michele has been with us since the very, very, very beginning. And Heidi has not. And so we're going to speak from a historical place of how we came to Tea Time and Spa, where that all started. So when we started Joy-Based Living itself in 2016, we started out by talking about 3 cultural wounds and 3 healing fields: shame, abandonment, betrayal, honor, commitment, loyalty. And we were planning on accessing more joy by talking about those, accessing those. And Michele, the mic's on you.
And so shame, abandonment, betrayal, honor, commitment, loyalty. So what happened was as we focused on joy, like all of our stuff kept coming up and we're like, oh, what is this? Is this shame? Is this abandonment? Is this betrayal? And how do we heal it through honor, commitment, and loyalty? And so we're kind of navigating through like, oh, we want more joy, and then stuff would start coming up. And it wasn't just one person, it was like everybody in the group had something on a similar level that was like, oh, well, this would come up and this would come up and this would come up. And the first time it was like, okay, so that stuff came up. And then, we're moving through, we got through it, and then we're focusing on joy again. And then the second time we're like, oh, what is this? Well, this is that stuff again. Like, ugh. And so we look at it again. I'm like, okay, we got this. Focus on joy again. And then the third time it came up, we're like, oh, what is this? It was like roadkill. We had to like start actually like looking at it and going, what the heck is this? Like, we can't just run over it. We have to like go to the side and pick it apart and look at it and be like, oh, this is what this is. This is like,
it's the roadkill in our minds.
Yes, like this whole,
it's really stinky.
It's stinky and it's ugly and it's not, and it's like half picked apart, half done.
Okay. So let's talk about the roadkill.
Yeah. Anyway, so we kept like going through it and realized that we had to like dive a little bit deeper and actually spend some time in that place and just like really look at it and not just kind of gloss over it and keep it moving.
I'd like to offer some words and definitions for that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I know I just interrupted you there, but I think people will get lost if they don't have at least some words. So we traversed the land of narcissistic abuse and complex PTSD. And then we came to realize that narcissism is so prevalent in our society, we all need to know about it. And complex PTSD is so prevalent in our society that we need to know about it, that even if we're not experiencing it ourselves, guarantee you 100%, if you have at least 3 friends in the world, somebody's experiencing it somewhere. Right. If not them, a family member. I mean, it's so everywhere that it flipped us out. So I'm mentioning sanctuary because you don't need to know about complex PTSD. You don't need to become an expert at that. It's weaved into our meeting outline so that if somebody is experiencing it, they can get help. Right. So that it's not overlooked, because what we've realized is that joy is an all-inclusive if we look at the emotional ladder, joy means being able to include all of it.
Yeah.
The dark is dark and the light is light, that we're not repressing or running from any of it. So wait a minute, we're talking about complex PTSD. Oh, yes. Okay, so let me do a share screen and then I'll bring it back to you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So one of our members just shared with us something that she posted on her refrigerator for herself and her children. As a result of studying narcissistic abuse, we got narcissistic abuse language, like gaslighting, love bombing, double binds, that feeling of no matter what you do, you can't win, projection, triangulation. We're not going to go into all these words right now. I just want you to know that this is the dark side of, what were you calling it? The roadkill. This is the roadkill. This is the roadkill that we were facing and going, yeah. Oh my God, me too. Oh my God, me too. And a bunch of people who were there with us at Joy Based Living, they left. But then a bunch of us stayed and we're like, oh my God, you too? Oh my God, me too. And so this is the dark yuck that we're referring to when I mention narcissistic abuse and I mention complex PTSD. These words are the agents of freedom. These words became the gateway of a new way of living. These words became an incentive to make a real change so that joy could last.
Right.
And that was how we landed. So some of our teachers that we had in the narcissistic abuse and complex PTSD arena, which are mentioned in the sanctuary book, which is free at joybasedliving.com. Like, it's free. So this is like our main resource that we have, that anybody who needs it, what is it? It's full of vocabulary. The first 5 pages will change your life. The first 5 pages will help you communicate with somebody to find out if they're like in severe trauma. What happened as a result of all that roadkill was, what are we protecting? We're protecting our own authority. We're protecting ourselves from not believing lies that we didn't even realize we were believing. That's the gaslighting. So when we talk about T time, T stands for time, energy, and attention. SPA stands for sovereignty, power, agency. I'm going to give one more power word here, and then I'm going to throw it back to you, Michele. And that power word it's a psychological word, and I don't want anybody getting hooked into it. I just want to say it here so we have a word in common, and that is the superego. The superego is simply who's on the highest throne in your mind. Who's on the highest throne in your mind? Is it somebody who's lying to you and who doesn't have your best interests at heart? Or is it somebody who's telling you the truth and who believes in you and wants you to be the best you can be? That's it. That's the superego. That's the one in charge. That's the governor. That's the authority figure. So when we talk about time, energy, and attention and sovereignty, power, agency, we're talking about you not just taking power back in the outside world, but taking your power back in full in the inside world and up-leveling your ability to show up in power in the outer world. Right. I'm throwing it back to you, Michele.
So all of that said, we like the T, we started talking about like tea time, the time, the energy, and attention. The more that we talked about tea time, we're like, oh, so our time is precious, our attention is precious, and our energy is precious. And so how does that show up for us in our group? And then therefore, how does that, as we practice more of that within our group, we were able to practice more of that outside of our group.
Yeah.
And then our group, our relationships to people outside of our joy-based living, our wholehearted networking group started changing, and things started like traversing in a way that where we were rippling and resonating with people out beyond, and their joy was even growing without them even knowing it.
Right.
One of the things for me that it took me a little bit to really grasp was the SPA, the sovereignty, the power, and the agency. I was able to figure out what power looked like for me, but most recently, and I've, like Debbie said, I've been part of this group since 2016, is what agency looked like and what power, what sovereignty looked like.
Yeah, like what are the differences and the nuances of those, which is still an inquiry that we still grapple with, just so that the listener knows that we don't have like final answers on these things.
Yeah, we don't. And for me, I like to look and be like, okay, so I can read the definition all day long, but to embody it, to see other people figure that out is where it really resonates for me. And so I was able to like watch a movie that helped me with agency, and then I was able to step into and watch a series. Do you think I should mention?
Yeah, I think if you're mentioning it, you should just say what it is, because this way
Okay.
people know what's on your mind.
Okay. So agency, I was able to I came across the movie, and this is kind of a really intense movie, but Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And it's a story about, you know, a woman back in the 1920s who was trying to really put her music out there, but
A
people,
Black woman.
a black woman, and how the industry was trying to manipulate her so that they could make the money, and she was like, nope, I know what this looks like, and I'm going to stay in my own truth. And it was, like I said, it was really intense, but it helped me go, oh, so that's agency.
Mm.
And then when it came to sovereignty, there's a member who's part of our group who had mentioned collar up, like, you know,
Call
like the
her.
queen. Yeah, but like
People here call her up. It's not call her up. It's
oh,
call her.
collar. Is that how I'm sounding it with my accent?
Yes, yes.
Collar up, like with the queen, how the queen has to like collar up and just have that majestic, like, no, I am the one who's in charge, which led to, in my mind, watching like, what does that look like for me? And so I started watching the series The Crown, and realizing exactly what Queen Elizabeth had to go through from growing up thinking that she was, you know, like outside of the royal family, and that she could spend, you know, her life with her dogs and her horses and just raising her family, to moving into being the queen. And how she had it was almost like she was I felt as though she was an octopus at certain times, because people were pulling her in all kinds of different directions, but she had to keep coming to that center, that space within herself. And so I did, my way of processing is through art. And so I did a piece on the agency, which I don't currently have right now because I have an exhibit with all of them out, and then a piece on sovereignty. And one of
Wait, before you show it, don't show it yet. I want to say something about the art. I want to say something about art just real briefly here,
yeah,
because we seem to have art as kind of a very side conversation
yeah,
within joy-based living, and music as a side conversation. But I want that the people who are watching, listening, to know that it's an integral part for many of us in our
yeah,
own personal lives, that we naturally, as human beings, one of the things that human beings do when they face a lot of darkness is they use art. We instinctively use art. As if you think about narcissistic abuse or complex PTSD as a death force, art is a life force that when we spend time in nature, or we spend time with our paints,
yeah.
we're saying there is hope in here. There's something in me that wants to live. And so it's a very important part of joy-based living. And so now back to you.
And I'm going to actually take another little quick detour. As we were going through the PTSD and the like the trauma awareness, a lot of us were in this space of like, I call it heck no, where we're like, heck no, we don't want this anymore. Heck no, right? And then we trying to focus on what heck yes looks like.
Wait, let me give context. I'm the context queen. You're the specifics queen. I'm like, let me interrupt you. Let me give context. When, because it's important. It's
And
important.
no, you're right. You're right. You're right.
I just had the sanctuary book and now I can't find it. Anyway, in the sanctuary book, it's right by my knee. That's why I can't find it. Okay, sanctuary book. In the sanctuary book, 4 mantras for thriving after emotional trauma. One of the things that's hiding somewhere in one of the definitions there is 4 steps, which I wish was bigger, but I didn't realize it until after the book. 4 steps for healing from emotional trauma. And
Yeah.
those 4 steps are stuck.
Yeah.
And just think about a friend who's constantly stuck and they tell you the same story over and over and over again. And you know that they're just stuck, or maybe you were stuck at some point in your life, just stuck. Second step is shocked. It's the friend who's like, oh my God, you did it again. But it's the 18th time she's told it to you and you can already tell the story for her, but she's genuinely shocked when it happened again.
Again.
So stuck, shocked. And then hell no is, you're not doing that to me again. That's never happening to me again. Oh, no way. I'm not doing that again. Now, some people live their entire lives in hell no. and that's a danger zone. And so when I see one of our members in that zone, I'm like, man, you got to jump into hell yes. I don't care what it takes. If you don't jump into hell yes, you're still going to be you're going to be a reactor for the rest of your life to people who are unkind, and feeling really strong for saying, hell no, watch me set my boundaries. That's not who you really are. Who you really are lives and thrives in the energy of your essence, of your authenticity. And that's what we're saying hell yes to. Back to you, Michele.
So as we traverse from hell no into hell yes, one of the ways that I process, as Debbie mentioned with art, is I get visions. And so this is my version of what, and I'm still working on it, but this is my version of what hell yes looks like. It's like your hands are in the air and you're like, woo, hell yes, we are moving that direction, which is where you can see like the fire coming out of it.
The fire's coming out of your head. It's like, woo!
The fire's coming out of like my head, but also in front of me, like hell yes.
Oh, like hell yes, like your vision in front of you is just coming alive.
Yes,
that's very
yes.
alive. And
so that's that. And so that's the hell yes. And so as I was moving into the hell yes part, that's when I was really starting to feel like, oh, well, what does agency look like for me? And the Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And then what does sovereignty look like for me? And so then the more that I would watch The Crown, the more I'd realize, wow, she had to keep coming back to herself, keep coming back to herself, keep coming back to herself. And so what came to me during one of our meetings,
in 2020,
it was December of 2020, is this little, and this is something that I just started last night, so it's not done. It's got the first layer on it.
You sketched it in full in 2020, and now you're painting it. There's the sketch.
This is the sketch.
Yes, just keep that one up. Put the other one back down, because this one's got more color in it. It's a complete sketch.
Yeah. So this, and it made me think of like the Queen's fine china, and and that's why we have like the little flower, the little flower motif on it with the gold lining, but there's this little sprout that keeps growing, and it's independent in its own right, but it's getting ready to flourish. If you can see like the little leaves here and there, how the leaves are starting, there's hope in there, and there's promise in there, and there's a sense of hell yes, like what is coming out of this opportunity, this growth that we are all doing together. And so,
can I bring context to it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we discovered as a group, by the way, those of us who've been with joy-based living for a while, we call ourselves Sherpas, where if somebody new comes in, we don't carry your baggage, but we'll show you around. Right. Why did I say that? I said that for a reason, but I can't remember why right now. Anyway, oh yes, we meet every month on Saturday for an hour and a half. And we had a really amazing conversation this past Saturday. And we discovered that this particular teacup metaphor, that the integrity of the teacup is made of a continual practice of honor, commitment, and loyalty, which are the healing fields to shame, abandonment, and betrayal. Keep holding it up. Keep holding it up. It's beautiful. I'm looking at it as I'm saying this.
Oh, okay.
The integrity of the cup is that it doesn't have holes in it. Now, practice number 1 at joy-based living includes the phrase imperfect and awesome. So does it get holes in it sometimes? Yeah. And then we do relational repair with ourselves or with another person. But the integrity of that cup is made of a continual embodied practice of what is honor, commitment, and loyalty. What does it feel like? What is shame, abandonment, betrayal? Because you can't stop doing them if you don't really understand them at a felt sensation level. Right. And then we realized that the soil in there represents tea time, your time, energy, and attention. That when you take ownership of where you invest your time, energy, and attention, and you invest it in ways that create honor, commitment, and loyalty in your life and the lives of others, that's the soil, and that's healthy soil that you can really grow stuff in. And then we realize that the sprout is sovereignty, power, and agency, but that the tea time and spa, which some of our Sherpas are like, oh, I think tea time and spa are the best. That's like the thing that we should like totally love. And all of a sudden in that Sherpa conversation, it was like, oh my God, there would be no tea time and spa without honor, commitment, and loyalty. And it
Right.
brought us full circle back to where we started back in 2016. So back to you, Michelle.
I, what do I say after that? Like,
We've come a long way, baby.
we have come a long way. I can remember like way back when in 2016, like what could, because with shame, abandonment, betrayal, they have temperatures within inside your body.
Yep.
And so, and like recognizing that, wait, that's what that is. Like my body gets hot during that moment, during whenever somebody shames me or whenever I feel betrayal.
And people will learn those temperatures in practice number 3 and 4.
Right.
They'll learn those in practice number 3 and 4 in the 12 practices. I just don't want you to like go too far into that. I just feel like we've covered so much. I was afraid you were going to like give everything away here. And I don't care. I don't care if you give everything away. I feel like we need to more come to a close than open another door. So
yeah. And well, and just, and I just think that like, I guess what I was trying to do is like tie it together is like in 2016, we're beginning to realize what that is, what that looks like, what that feels like in our body. And now in 2023, that is, it's an old hat. It's like, you know, a baby walking, and now a baby, you know, like now we've got our teenager running races.
yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, we just, it's an automatic. It happens naturally. It's like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, no, I know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
I would say that many of us are adults at this point.
yeah.
I mean, we know what shame, abandonment, and betrayal is as adults.
Right.
I mean, I think the embodiment of the full hell yes of us, many of us are still teenagers running. Totally.
Yeah.
We've definitely grown up there. But as far as, you know, what makes us Sherpas is we understand on an embodied level, shame, abandonment, betrayal, honor, commitment, loyalty. And we value honor, commitment, loyalty. We value truth and understanding and friendship and love. Like we find those things beautiful.
Right.
And I used to assume that everybody in the world did, but everybody in the world doesn't. And so what we have in common as a collective is that we find beauty in truth, in understanding, in love, in friendship. And because we find those beautiful, we work our fucking asses off to recognize shame, abandonment, betrayal, and to produce more experiences of honor, commitment, and loyalty as a lifestyle, not just as like, oh, I took that weekend, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, it's ingrained in us as a lifestyle.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I feel like if we're not in honor, commitment, and loyalty, that we're out of integrity with who we truly are. Yeah,
Totally.
we're incongruent.
Totally.
With the essence of our being.
And to just reiterate again, for those perfectionists out there, because I see you, I see you,
I see you too.
I see you, is yes, integrity, and practice number 1, imperfect and awesome. Nobody in this group practices honor, commitment, and loyalty perfectly.
No, but we celebrate when we do.
We celebrate it when we recognize that we've just shamed ourselves. Oh, I just recognized it. Woo-hoo! Like we will celebrate our mistakes. Yeah, like serious happiness. Serious happiness. I just betrayed myself. And that's the energy that we need in order to learn in these really harsh conversational topics.
Yeah.
We need room to make mistakes. Because we're constantly inundated by shame messages in our culture. And that's what was that's what popped our eyes open. That was the first eye opener for us. We were like, oh my God, it's everywhere. Like we didn't realize how everywhere it was. And I mean, does that affect creativity? Let's go back to Heidi. Heidi, I'm gonna put the spotlight on you in a second. So we can come to a close with your voice helping us come to a close. That when you're running a recording studio, and I was asking you questions about, you know, where do you see people get challenged and get stuck in the recording studio? And you said things to me like, oh, you know, a young girl will be in front of the microphone and be like, oh my God, I just made this mistake. And they get really ashamed. What if they could get through that quicker?
Right.
That they're afraid of making mistakes. So shame stops people from flourishing in their own creativity. So although we've talked about things that are very, very theoretical, I am all about practical, man. I want people showing up in that recording studio and kicking butt. I want people doing their art and letting it flourish. I want people taking ownership of their own authority and power in the world. People who are like us, who have a tendency to err on the side of being too quiet. And then we
Right.
get mad when yucky leaders end up in power. But we have to get louder, but we don't know how, and we don't want to hurt other people. And that's what makes us stay quiet. So we're getting louder together in a way that has integrity with our own souls and hearts. Look at that. Your face speaks volumes about how I feel. Heidi, um, can you help us come to a close? I feel like we should do that very soon. We're about at about half an hour. I think that's more than enough time for tea time and spa at this moment. Can you give us a few closing words?
Ooh, closing words.
Oh, or I'll close, but to help us come to a close, landing words.
Um, I'm not sure about that. I, I appreciate very much. I appreciate what you laid out for us very much, and it's good to know the back history and where it all came from. I still feel that spa is, it's only words for me. These are only words still. So I feel like probably I would like to go deeper into them to see what they actually look like in real life. For me, for other people. Yeah. But time, energy, and attention is very good. The idea or the concept of taking control of where you put your time, energy, and attention, that's very clear to me and very positive, in a very positive way, because it's drawing us away from digging in the dirt. Like we don't want to do that. Dig in the dirt and keep concentrating on what we don't want. So time, energy, and attention is going into the future, going forward. Where do I want to put my tea into? Like that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So yeah, so what, I'll just do a quick review, a recap of our history, right? So we started Joy-Based Living in 2016 with the conversation. And this is interesting how the way you said that, Heidi, because you're talking with the way that you said it was, okay, so here's where I'm going to focus my inquiry now on sovereignty, power, agency. That's what we've been doing all these years. That's what we do at Joy-Based Living. We put inquiry on the table and say, all right, what is shame, abandonment, betrayal? What is honor, commitment, loyalty? What are those like embodied? What are those like to talk about them in group, in the, because shame hides in secrecy, silence, and judgment. It thrives in secrecy, silence, and judgment. And so having this inquiry on the table was frightening. And so that we have been courageous warriors, and we have this little dirty ninja that gets in the way, that tells us, oh, you shouldn't tell anybody that secret. Oh, look at what a bad person you are. Like, and it does it like in ways that doesn't even have a voice sometimes. And we go, oh my God, the dirty ninja got me again. And so these inquiries, and then these inquiries went into time, energy, and attention, sovereignty, power, agency. And now we're having more people come in now who are being invited into the inquiry. And how wonderful for you that you get to know where we've come from, so that when whatever inquiry you are in right now, you can go, oh, they've been there too, and look at where they are now. Look, that these are people who are going forward in their lives, who care about being empowered in their lives in a way that doesn't make them feel isolated and independently strong, but in a way that makes them feel connected with others and independently strong, that we're not willing to settle for less than that. And that's where we are now. So inviting new people into the conversation. I think where I'd like to end it is, if anybody has any questions, please write them under this video, or please ask Heidi, or ask me, or ask Michele. And we might make a video part 2 for tea time and spa, and
Yeah.
for a brief history of joy-based living. Holy cow. Do we feel complete?
I do.
Everybody feel complete? All right. And so it is. Thank you for your time, energy, and attention, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.